Welcome to Beyond the Box. Today we're speaking with Steve Bayliss, Group General Manager Marketing for Foodstuffs New Zealand. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You've been in the thick of some big changes in your sector with the rise of specialty and artisan grocery change, farmers markets and the likes. What are kind of recommendations for other marketers in other categories where maybe they're going through some kind of change or disruption?
Yeah, I think the first point is, disruption is constant, yeah? There's things come at us every day. There's the CFO, the CEO is going, what are we going to do about X, Y, Z? And the most important thing, I think, is to go, is this a genuine disruption? Because if you take in the supermarket category, the share of stomach supermarkets get hasn't changed. So you kind of go, avoid jumping at shadows, understand the true nature of the risk. But disruption, usually when it does come at you, comes from one of three sources. Financial disruption, so that's you've been too greedy in the P&L, you're making more than your cost of capital by a big margin and you're leaving room underneath you. So keep pressure on your price or you invite competition in. Technology change is another key source of disruption. And look, a great example of both financial and technology disruption would be the cab industry at the moment with Uber, yeah? And then the third source is consumer disruption, so changing consumer behaviour and habits. And the most important fact there is just constantly have your finger on the pulse of what's happening for your customers. What is changing in their lives and know about it before your competition do. And to that extent, you give yourself the best chance to A, minimise disruption, but also separate genuine disruption from the distraction of business so that you can act on the things you need to.
Excellent, thank you very much. Thinking about branding now, in terms of branding, in what circumstances do you feel it can be worthwhile to consider multi-brand strategies?
Yeah, it's not a black and white question there, is it? There's a lot of grey. A lot of the time we've got multi-brand strategies, we've inherited them.
Okay.
The New World pack and save in the grocery environment. That said, I wouldn't change it for a minute. It works brilliantly as a foil to our competitor. I think for me the key is scale. New Zealand's a pretty small country. So the cost of building brands, of investing in good quality marketing, good quality innovation, product development, is pretty substantial. So for me there would have to be a really strong consumer argument to add new brands to the portfolio until you've properly answered the question, have we sweated every dollar of growth or opportunity out of our existing portfolio before we create a scale problem for ourselves by adding incremental pain and effort.
Think about, obviously, your category, grocery shopping. How can brands best connect, engage and develop that customer loyalty? When you think about grocery shopping, for some people it's a chore, so some of your customers might be there out of necessity rather than actually any choice. Yeah,
I think unquestionably that'll be a factor. I think for the moment you think that any part of your experience from a brand perspective is a chore and you accept that it's a chore, yes. I think you should probably think about a new career, probably one in audit, internal audit perhaps, I don't know. I think the challenge is to say how do you make every part of the experience engaging, inspiring, and a point of advantage for your brand. And for me, look, I think one of the fundamentals that so many people miss that to me is the starting point is the human factor, which is, are you happy to see me or not? And you think about the brands you love, you think about whether it's a hairdresser or your favourite coffee shop, one of the things that always distinguishes the brands or the businesses you love to do business with is a genuine sense they're happy to see you. Because those that you don't, you kind of go, they're not necessarily rude, but you don't get that same sense of warmth. You're just another customer. So I think for me, always accept there's an opportunity to bring joy and inspiration to customers in every part of the journey, and make sure it's grounded in the human factor. Are you happy to see me or not?
Well, it keeps coming back to this human factor thing, because you mentioned that in change as well. It's getting to know that consumer, the disruptions with the consumer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Taking that on board, what's the one thing you think marketers need to get right in the next 12 months?
I think the balance between, and it's a constant battle, but I think it is a constant battle for good reason, which is the balance between, short-term sales stimulation and brand building.
Okay.
And it's tough, because the CEO and the CFO, they're really concerned with quarterly results, monthly results, quarterly results, and are we hitting the budget? And I think the moment as a marketer you don't care about the cash register, about short-term sales, I think you open up a really big chasm with the rest of the C-suite in a heck of a hurry. But equally, if all you're doing is chasing tomorrow's sales, you fail to bring or build the saliency required in the brand for the long term. So it is a constant balance. And there's a lot of science, a lot of studies come out recently on it. But I think having a really reasoned, robust, science-based view on how you're going to imbalance your investment, and that's both financial and people, between those two kind of not conflicting, complementary, but at times they can be seen as conflicting points of view.
So that one point of balance is that one thing you need to do. You need to get that balance right.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and it is a tough balance. Because if you took the purist view that all we're going to do is invest in the long-term equity and salience of the brand, you're pretty quickly, your CFO is going to hate you. They're going to get really frustrated. They're going to go, well, that's wonderful, but if I don't have the cash in the bank tomorrow or this month, how can we afford to invest in that? But equally, you can't keep cycling short-term promotion after short-term promotion. So it is a difficult balance.
The last question, Steve. With the influence of digital and that kind of thing, do you have any words of wisdom for marketers as they work in this new kind of fast-paced, ever-changing digital environment and as they're looking forward to the future?
Yeah, this is kind of a hot point for me.
Yeah.
And I often take the piss a little bit whenever people ask me to talk about digital. And the first thing I do, because people talk about social media and all those good things, and the first thing I do is I put up a picture. It's an old picture from an Aussie pub in 1970 with blokes in shorts that are too short, standing uncomfortably close to each other. And kind of go, this is social media. Because it's people telling other people what they like, what's driving them crazy, what's inspired them, the new model HQ Holden. It's people sharing a point of view. But the fundamental truth of social media, that's social media on a very small scale, but the fundamental truth hasn't changed, which is if you're not doing work worth talking about, people are not going to talk about you. And so kind of digital for the sake of doing digital, it fails to remember at the heart of great marketing is still compelling ideas, compelling products, delivered brilliantly creatively, based on really rock-solid consumer insight. That's actually a truth that hasn't changed.
Yes.
Now, social media scales that up brilliantly. But the absolute truth that was true in 1970 and 80 and 90 is the same as it is in 2015. So I kind of always bring people back to that and also bring them back to the notion of digital because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. So how's it solving a problem more delightfully than the existing alternatives? And I use an example in grocery. Why don't we have an app, this is 2-3 years ago, why don't we have an app with a shopping list in it? I say, well, okay, so let's you download this shopping app, and the way I do it today is I do it with a pen and paper. And I'm going to write my shopping list on a pen and paper, you do yours on an app, and we'll see who finishes first. And so there's this kind of notion of just because you can do it, doesn't mean you should, until you can answer the question, how are you solving a problem more delightfully for the customer than the existing alternative? So a couple of truths that stay grounded. And don't ever forget that if you're not doing work worth talking about, people aren't going to talk about you. Doesn't matter how many Facebook fans you got.
Excellent. Thanks for that. That's a very insightful view into digital and social media about that kind of, you've got to get that grounding right. It's got to be that consumer-centric piece.
I think at my age you have to kind of take it back to some fundamentals because you're not going to know the new school tools anyway.
Thank you very much, Steve. There were some great insights.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.